Hey, today on the podcast, please subscribe, leave a comment. We have Will Cain with us. The off-season obsession, why it's working with the NBA and why it's a lot like slideshows. It actually all makes sense. We should have seen this coming years ago. More news on why Gilbert may have moved on from David Griffin, and should you feel bad for who Dwight Howard is today?
The Ryen Russillo Show podcast.
Will Cain, fresh from First Take, and Mike and Mike, a really busy day for you today. All 3 days, right here on the Russillo Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That means Wednesday, draft day, Christmas, whatever holiday you're celebrating, that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then Friday.
Draft is that. This is Easter, right? Like NFL draft is Christmas,
No.
NBA draft is Easter. It's a fact. That's a fact.
I'm trying to think, what is NFL draft? NFL draft is... I think it's Hanukkah because it's longer and no one's quite sure what the rules are from the outside. Right?
Okay, so here's a hot
like
sports
8
opinion.
days in a row? Like, I think there's a lot of parts I don't know. That's kind of like the 4th to 7th rounders.
I'm going to try to come out of the gates hot today. Okay, here you
Hold
go.
on. I feel like I need a sound effect.
Okay, possibly a Nazi. NFL draft is the biggest sporting event of the year.
Okay. Would you ever want to go to it?
Been to it.
Loser.
3 times.
Okay, now there's people listening going like, what do you mean? I went to the draft. Come on, you know who I'm talking about. You know you're the draft guy that went.
Yeah. By the way, not as a working event. Just went.
What was that like?
Not good.
Now, this makes me sound like a jerk. It makes me sound like elitist to think that, like, to go to the NFL draft and sit there. I just can't do it. I'm wrong for thinking it wouldn't be fun, I guess.
No, you're not.
Oh, because it wasn't?
No. It's awful.
Why'd you go? Why'd you go 3 times? What was the second time?
The second time, I have a friend who works at the NFL. She was like, you want to go to the... She knew I was a big draft nerd, like it. So the first time was like, I'm going to the draft. This is cool, right? Radio City Music Hall. I'm going to go to the draft. Bailed pretty quick. Like, I don't know how many picks I made it in. It's a TV event. Clearly, it's a TV event.
I remember once saying before I was doing this for a living, I had a buddy, a guy that played college football. It's not even a name drop, so it's not even that impressive. But he and I were talking, I don't know, whatever, just talking sports. He's like, I love the NFL draft. I go, you know what'd be fun is like go into the city and sit and watch it. And he goes, no, it wouldn't be.
Mm-mm.
And I went, wow. Mine changed immediately. It was like he was Obi-Wan. I thought, wait a minute, you're right. Back then, especially, think how much longer it used to be. It was less of a TV event that still was on TV, and you were waiting around forever.
Here's what I did. This was the audible I called in the middle of the NFL draft. Was there with a buddy, sitting through these picks. You got a little, you get your little radio you put on, so you can. Oh, there's the NFL Network over there. There's ESPN over there. I can tune into which simulcast I want. Hear it through my little headphones. I can watch the stage because there's no real sound in the event in Radio City Music Hall or the Javits Center or in Chicago. Like inside the room, there's no MC. There's no event there's no sound until the guy comes out and says with the 5th pick and the 2014.
Now it's different though. Now it's a festival.
I didn't see this year. It looked amazing.
Philadelphia went off.
They did.
Lit.
So here's the audible. Buddy and I went out. Said, let's get out of here. Went to a bar, had a little mock draft print sheet, placed bets on who the next pick would be.
There you go. Now you're having fun.
Drank beers on who lost. Oh, that's a shot. That's a shot. It was a ball once we hit the bar and started putting wagers on the picks.
That makes sense. Okay, see, that's a fun way to do it. I just can't imagine sitting there. I've been in the Barclays Center the last bunch of years. I'm not going to be there this year. I'm not going to the draft, so that's the first time in a while. I'll be here with Van Pelt doing post-draft stuff right on SportsCenter, so that's kind of something I'm super pumped for. But the NBA one is quicker. It moves a little bit faster because you know what? The NFL, you didn't need 15 minutes for every single pick, and it took forever to get that done. Speaking of taking forever to get to the start of the show, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Will Cain, as we've mentioned, you're friends with Dwight Howard or met him? Because Dwight Howard's been traded, and think about this backstory.
Hold on. I want to answer your question.
Hold on. Just think how you want to answer that, because I just want to make sure everybody understands the story. Dwight Howard's traded to the Charlotte Hornets for essentially just pieces. And this is so Dwight Howard. He was running the NBA Twitter account. So it says, okay, fans, give me your thoughts, trades or otherwise. Remember to be nice. First question, Dwight, what do you think of the Paul George rumors? Where do you think he's going? Dwight Howard responds, he has so many great options, tough to call. So you're going to get that kind of content for the next hour. It's going to be sick. Then he gets traded literally 5 minutes after this thing starts. He goes dark because everybody's like, hey, you've been traded to the Hornets. Like, you hosted the NBA account, interacting with fans, talking about all the offseason stuff.
And you got traded.
Right. So your buddy Dwight, how is he doing?
So we were texting a little earlier, and he didn't go dark with me. That was nice.
That's good.
I
Still
met
blue, not green.
I met Dwight. You're right. I met Dwight.
You met him
2 weeks ago at the Hofbrau.
First time ever.
Yes, first time ever at the Hofbrau House in Cleveland.
He was part of First Take for the finals.
He was part of First Take. I wasn't on that segment. I was walking off as he was walking on, and he goes, yeah, I think I saw you on the show yesterday. And I'm like, every day, Dwight. Thanks. It's hard.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
There's a lot of jokes in there somewhere. It's hard. Honestly, I know this is going to be so like, oh, wow, really observant, really insightful here. It is so hard to explain how impressive he is physically. It is so hard to overstate Dwight Howard. I've met a lot of NBA guys now, as I'm sure you have as well, who've either walked into this studio or walked onto a live set somewhere for First Take or work at ESPN, Paul Pierce, Antonio Davis, you name it. Vince Carter. Dwight Howard is another level. Just as a physical human being, his height, his shoulder width, the narrowness of his waist. I think I gave him a little slap. We did the high five, the pull in, that thing.
Yeah,
with the arm going around the back.
Did you nail it, or was it?
I'm getting better at it.
Good thing.
And when I went in, you're like, of course, when you do this with most guys, you're like at lat level. You get a little pat on the lat. With Dwight, you're at like lower back level. Lucky.
Lower back, hot.
And you're like, his waist is so small.
So now that we have that down,
oh yeah,
you feel bad for him?
I do. I feel bad for Dwight. Okay, I feel bad for Dwight for two reasons. Number one, the NBA just moved on from Dwight Howard. There was a time when Dwight Howard was everything you wanted in a team. You had to have Dwight Howard. Everybody wanted Dwight Howard, from the Houston Rockets to the LA Lakers to the Dallas Mavericks. It was go all out for Dwight because he changed your prospects as a team. And two things happened to Dwight. Number one, the market moved on. He was like a buggy whip salesman when Henry Ford came out with the Model A? Model A? Model A?
Model T's the
Model
first
T?
one? No,
first?
Maybe Model A would make sense if they went alphabetically. I don't know. I'm not a car historian.
But the market just moved on from Dwight. And all of a sudden, he became, if not obsolete, so much less valuable. That's one. Number two, the part that is his fault, the part that's on Dwight that's his doing, he just can't get out of his own way. And instead of being mad at him or mocking him, I do really feel bad for him. He doesn't, as Cerruti said in the pre-show meeting, he doesn't seem to know what he wants. He seems like a kid who doesn't know what he wants and then therefore never gets it.
I do think there's some immaturity with him because anybody that's ever had him in a locker room will tell you the exact same thing. So it's not hurtful. It's not even harmful at times. But all I needed to know about him is that when he went to the Lakers and he couldn't get out of there fast enough, which in a way, it's like if you're having this bad of a time, and the crazy thing is the Lakers still wanted to keep him. Houston still wanted to keep him. Okay? And then they go, well, we can't really even do this anymore. Atlanta was like, we'll move on from Al Horford and bring you in for a year. And now it's the third stop that's going, you know what, I really don't like the way I'm being used. And that was after he was with Orlando, wanted out, tried to force his way out, gets Van Gundy out of there, then opts back in. And then once he opts back in, he then wants out again and then doesn't want to go to Brooklyn because he wants to go to L.A. He gets his way, goes to L.A. When Kobe looked at him after they weren't on the same team and said, I know you, that's all I needed to know about Dwight Howard. It confirmed absolutely everything. All my doubts about him as a teammate, as a competitor, and that the body and all the stuff in the beginning, you're absolutely right. I used to argue that Dwight would be a guy maybe you'd start your franchise with over anybody else in the NBA.
Right.
And he's just not that guy. And it is partly the league, but we already know what's going to happen in Charlotte. Like, what are you going to do? Dump it in the post to him 25 possessions and be unlike everybody else in the league?
Right.
You think it's going to work? No, he won't get enough touches, and he's going to be upset about it. And Charlotte fans are going to go, yay, we got Dwight Howard, sort of.
But are you mad at Dwight for it? Does it make you dislike Dwight? Do you hate Dwight for all of this?
I could probably get over the Orlando thing. It's probably up to me to move on from it.
Yeah.
But it has been every other stop.
Yes. And I guess where I come down on this in the end is, the market moved on from him, the league moved on from him, but that doesn't negate the fact that much of this is on him. And then what do you do with that? It's on him because Dwight's his own worst enemy. It's, as you said, how about this, Ryan? There's an innocence to Dwight's
That's
problems.
fine. Yeah.
He's not a malcontent who seems like he's out there to sabotage anybody except Stan Van Gundy. He's simply sabotaging himself time after time. That's Dwight Howard's biggest enemy is Dwight Howard. And I feel bad for him that's kind of how he's ended up.
And I don't know that there's ever going to be something where we're doing a segment here a year from now, 2 years from now, where you go, the redemption of Dwight Howard. Like, it just feels like when it's over, you're going to go, he might even still make the Hall of Fame, and he's going to be in the second half of his career where you go, eh.
The Ryen Russillo Show. Russillo.
Yesterday, it was an anti-Dan Gilbert fest, the owner of the Cavs, okay? Because David Griffin, you're going, wait a minute, how does the GM get fired or they can't work out a contract? Because people love doing that. Well, technically, he walked away from us. You're like, look, if you wanted him, he'd still be here. 2 days before the draft, 3 days before the draft, the guy's sitting there working on trades, and now he's out. So, I didn't get it. I didn't really get it. Talking to some people close to the situation, it sounds like David Griffin asked for a lot of money. And he's entitled to ask for all he wants. Now, Phil Jackson, you can't compare anyone to that. $12 million a year for that. I think Pop is like way up there too, but he kind of, I don't know, deserves it. And I'm not saying that Griffin, who was extremely underpaid, didn't deserve a significant raise. So there's a way I'm going to frame this where I'm going to tell you kind of ballpark numbers that I had heard last night and ask you a simple question if you're Dan Gilbert. So, Will, you're Dan Gilbert, powerful NBA owner. Actually, kind of a fitting role for you because I could see that. All right?
Thank you.
Your way,
I like that, actually.
The only way,
yes.
Difficult, impulsive, all of these
I'm
things.
Feeling
you're
this
perfect. You don't have to pretend.
No, I don't.
So I'm David Griffin. I go, hey, I want like $6-7 million a year.
What'd you say?
I would like $6 or $7 million a year.
You,
I would,
Dave.
Yes. Yeah, like
you
look,
want me to pay you?
I'm one of the most underpaid guys in the NBA. I deal with problems that other people don't deal with. Nobody thinks I'm even doing the job. Everybody thinks it's Team LeBron and all this different stuff. I would like not double. I would like to triple because I've been underpaid for this whole time. Reparations. I want to be paid as high as any of the other executives other than a guy like Phil or maybe a Doc or maybe even a Pop.
All right, Dave. Let's just entertain this offer for 1 second. This request.
My friends call me Griff.
You want to be? That's why I'm calling you Dave.
This owner thing is very fitting.
I know. You want to be the highest paid GM among the highest paid GMs in the NBA who are not also coaching on a team. We'll set Phil aside. Setting Phil aside, setting Doc aside, setting Pop aside. You want to be one of the highest paid GMs in the league. And your argument to me on why I should give you $7 million a year is because you deal with problems that no other GM has to deal with? What are those problems, Dave?
I have to answer to you as an owner, but I also have to massage the relationship between you and the number one player in the world because you set off a Merlot-induced flamethrower of a letter where you guaranteed that the Cavs would have a championship before he did, and then he actually came back, and we've been to the finals 3 straight years.
All right,
so I work on that that's a daily routine for me.
Oh, yeah. So you want me to pay you $7 million because I'm a problem for you?
When you put it that way, I just need you to understand.
Number two, hold on, before we break character here, as while we're at this, Dave, you want to be the highest paid GM in the league who's not also coaching except for Phil.
It's not the highest
Jackson.
paid, sir.
No, just thank you for that.
With all respect.
Like that. Because also you're not getting the credit you deserve in being the GM of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Everyone assumes LeBron is actually the GM and myself. Between me and LeBron, we got it covered.
Yeah.
And you're not getting the credit you deserve.
Yeah. Did you see my letter when we were down 3-1 last year? You read about that at McMenamin and Windhorse's book? Mm-hmm. You didn't write that letter. And your letter was worse.
You don't think LeBron and I are doing most of the work here?
Everybody else is getting paid. Tyler's getting paid.
That was such a parachute answer, by the way. It's in your face, it's in your eyes. You're like, ah.
What I'm trying to do is we've done this role play here. Is if Gilbert goes, well, we're probably going to, this is what you needed to do. This is what I should have played the owner. Because
I think I got it.
I think you did really well. But there was one sentence you could have just ended it all.
Okay, I know what it is. No.
That's a quicker one. But there's another sentence that has a little bit more depth to it where it goes, I like you, Dave. Did a good job here. We're going to win 50-plus games next year no matter who the GM is. And I know you put a ton of work into this. And I know the just toll this takes on you. But I love the Pistons. And I can get Chauncey Billups probably for less money than that. And maybe I bring Zanuck in here too. And now we're good to go. And look, who am I kidding? We're still winning 50-plus games, probably in the NBA Finals. So I don't need to pay you a premium. And if Gilbert feels that way and it's not all the other different things, I'd kind of get his point, even if I disagree with him. And yesterday when I did the show, I didn't quite have the numbers locked down, and I feel pretty confident about it today. That it's that, like, it was a big ask. And I don't know if Griff is, and I don't know any of this part of it, where Griff may have just been like, hey, for me to stay here and keep doing this, and the stuff I deal with, I need to be paid this much. And if I'm not, fine, because he'll get another job in a year.
Yeah, I actually think
there's more to it, too.
But I think both parties are right in this scenario, and both parties are going to get what they want.
Whoa.
It's the end result was met the way it needed to be. Look, it's easy to kick owners. It's easy to come down on owners. Nobody likes Dan Gilbert. Nobody likes James Dolan. It's easy to ignore them as bumbling idiots that somehow ended up with hundreds of millions and sometimes billions of dollars. Although that's really hard to believe. That's what we sell ourselves on. And the world doesn't work by deserve. Griff, now that we're back to being friends, Griff might actually deserve that money. He might be one of the best GMs in the league. But Gilbert doesn't need him. Just as you said, he doesn't need to pay him that. The world doesn't work by deserve. The world works by need.
By the way, also, Windhorst McMenamin saying Chauncey Billups scheduled to have a second meeting with the Cavs today. Hi, everyone. Ryen Russillo here. Support for the Ryen Russillo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all of the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Russillo. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, and MLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. You guys love that Bubba Watson interview. That's great. You can check it out. Subscribe to the Russillo Show podcast. Will Cain. Nothing makes a summer, birthday, or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. We did learn that his caddy's sick at foosball, 94. That'd be tough if you were like, what? Wait a minute, you want a foosball world championship? Like,
I know a guy. Just hear me out on this, okay?
Well, listening intently, so go.
Who wore a world champion size, Super Bowl ring for, and this is the part where my story kind of fizzles, but I just can't remember the sport, but it was like shuffleboard
or like bubble hockey.
It was above bubble hockey, but in that shuffleboard range. And he had his own ring made, but he was world champion.
He made his own?
Oh, he made his own. But he claimed world championship status. And he promoted, and he had created a league on, what was it? What's that game that they play in New York City in the park? It's where they toss the ball, and you're supposed to hit the other balls.
Handball?
Not bocce.
Bocce?
Not bocce, but it starts with a P.
Lawn darts.
It's an Italian game.
Bocce?
Petanque?
I think you're thinking of bocce.
It's, okay, see, this is just where I'm more sophisticated than you folks, but I live in New York City, don't worry. It's petanque, I think. I think it's Italian bocce.
That sounds cultural.
I think it's Italian bocce.
Okay.
Don't fact check me.
Who started? Where did bocce start?
That sounds Italian too.
That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Aren't you Italian? Why aren't you figuring this out for us?
Northern Italian.
It's French, first off.
Bocce?
See? Okay.
No, bocce is not French.
That's what I was.
Petanque, whatever it's called.
I had it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you nailed it.
Petanque. Is bocce Italian? Can you double check that for us?
When's this story over? I've got a Steph Curry take here, and I only got 3 minutes now. Really? I don't even know if this is doing enough to Steph Curry.
I actually think you can do this. Start the clock. Go.
Will Cain, Russillo Show. So last night, McMenamin started talking about franchise-changing guys, right? Because Dwight Howard got traded. And the thought was, remember when Dwight Howard was one of those guys? Changes who you are as a franchise. I argue there's 5, maybe 6. That could even be nice. Dave McMenamin covers the Cavs great guy, says 8 bet the house franchise-changing solo talents in the league. LeBron, Kawhi, Harden, Russ, Giannis, Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns, and Durant. People freaked. I tweeted this. I said, I have been alerted to this. Harden ahead of Steph. He's great, meaning Harden, but he's a really skilled quarterback playing in a Mike Leach system. To leave Steph off of this is, you should be fined. There's a way that we should all, no offense to Dave McMenamin, you know I love you, just talked to you the other day, but we should be able to just fine you $25 as a symbol of what that tweet was.
He should come on and defend himself. I mean, I think that...
Don't want him on. Passed.
Oh.
Ban 24 hours.
You got to let him defend himself.
Maybe tomorrow. I'll be okay about it.
He's on suspension?
Why is this still happening?
To Steph?
What do you think the response is? Do you think 50% of people are going, what are you talking about? Great take. Accurate. Or do you think some people are going, here's the thing. You want to tell me it's LeBron? You want to tell me it's KD? You want to tell me Kawhi? You want to tell me Anthony Davis? You know, I'll even take those. Karl Anthony Towns feels a little early, but are you kidding me? Are you kidding me that you would put Harden ahead of Curry? Like, that's the one that bothers me the most.
So you're saying if he had cut his list off at like 3 or 4 and left Steph off, no big deal.
I don't think I'd agree with it, but I wouldn't have 3 minutes on it. Then Tom Haberstroh, love him, Westport in the house. What's up? Steph Curry on court last season via NBA stat website. Overall, without Kevin Durant, the Warriors, so Steph on the floor, no Durant, plus 16 points. Without Durant and Draymond on the floor, Curry out there, plus 14 points. And I know what you're saying. Yeah, but what about Klay Thompson? No Durant, no Draymond, no Klay Thompson. The Golden State Warriors, plus 13. When are people going to figure out that Steph Curry is really good?
Maybe one more MVP? One more?
He's never going to win another one. Not after what happened to the 3-1 lead.
Maybe voters, 74 wins in the regular season?
Undefeated. Has to hit every clutch gene shot over 82 games. And
okay,
LeBron has to let him stay at his guest house after he beats him 4 games in the finals and doesn't ask him to get a cleaning service.
This is like that scene in Braveheart. The negotiation scene. Here are our terms.
Territories. Not until the Cavaliers logo is Steph's head. Then people will respect him.
What do you think it's about his height in the end? He's got to grow 3-4 inches. Then he can have the accolades.
That stat everyone should be repeating that to strangers in the street.
The Ryen Russillo Show. Russillo.
The latest on the NBA draft, rumors at the top. We think it's Fultz. We're pretty sure it's Ball, although then a late report yesterday that the Lakers were interested in moving the number 2 pick back to Sacramento for number 5 and number 10. That way it would arm them with more ammunition for going after Paul George. Then maybe they still get that point guard they like at 5 after trading D'Angelo Russell yesterday to the Nets. So there's so many different things going on, and we're still not sure, kind of gun-to-head moment on the Celtics at number 3.
Whoa, so can we just...
do whatever you want, Will
This
Cain.
is part of my mock draft nerd. So let's just say the Lakers did that deal with the Kings. From 2 back to 5 and 10. What are the odds they end up with Lonzo Ball at 5 anyway? Because the Kings...
Not good, because I think Phoenix takes him at 4.
Phoenix would take him. That's the stopping
I'd heard
point.
Phoenix would have taken him 1 if they won the lottery.
So Phoenix is a stopping point because you're assuming, based upon what you're hearing, the Kings would be trading up for Fox. They're in love with De'Aaron Fox, is the story. So they would theoretically take Fox at 2. Celtics, I don't know what at 3 at this point. Jackson, Tatum.
I believe Ainge likes Jackson and Tatum, and that's why he wasn't afraid to make the deal and move without concern of what the Lakers might do. If the Lakers secretly like Josh Jackson, they go, we still like Tatum too. And that's why I think they pulled this move off and started the conversation Friday, and then it was confirmed over the weekend, and then legally happened, Monday? So,
but then Phoenix steals Ball at 4, so the Lakers can't drop back to 5 and still get their wish.
I like the top of this draft a lot. I've been saying it for weeks, and I'd imagine that's what Ainge did. Some teams are different on this. Some teams truly think it's Fultz by himself and that you're trading out of this one-tier guy and then it's everyone else. I think it's a bunch of guys at the top. Maybe the Lakers feel the exact same way. Hey, we like Lonzo. We know everybody thinks we're going to take him. I know that's what everybody want. But you know what? What if we can move back to 5, Still get one of these top 5 guys we have graded really equally. We get another piece at 10. There's usually a little upset. That's what teams call it. When you map it out, 1 through 10, what you think is going to happen, and they'll go, all right, but there's always an upset. Maybe there's 2 upsets. And so we're picking at 12, and the guy that we never thought we'd see at 12 all of a sudden's at 12 because we've got a couple upsets. So that's maybe what the Lakers are thinking. But more importantly, if you go back to last night, this all plays into this whole off-season thing that I want to talk about here at the top of this hour with Will Cain, is that last night the Paul George thing cranks up where you go, Lakers pull this deal. They get rid of D'Angelo Russell. They get rid of Mozgov's contract, more importantly. They bring back Brook Lopez. They get 27-28. Is 27-28 and another player like a Clarkson or a Julius Randle they don't like enough for Paul George? And I'm going, wait a minute. I get the Pacers have no leverage. I get that Paul George has told the world he wants out of there. I get that a lot of people think that Paul George is going to end up there for free. But if you're Kevin Pritchard, I would just go, hey, guess what? I know I have no leverage. Everybody be bummed out. Pacers basketball. We're all bummed out together. Let's do this. See you in late October. You getting your tickets? Grab a beer, because I'm not trading Paul George for 2 irrelevant picks at the end of the first round and a player that I don't want to re-sign. And that's why I think even if it were true, not true, Mark Stein was saying this is what the Lakers are hoping to do. I didn't know that it was ever close to actually happening. I get wanting. I get having desire, right? But that might be the Sacramento part of this, that the Lakers needed one of those other picks to actually really entice the Pacers for Paul George.
I'm with you. That package for Paul George seems ridiculous. Why would the Pacers do that deal? But on the other hand, I think the idea of trading the second pick in the draft for Paul George is ridiculous from the Lakers side. You do not have to pay the second pick in the draft to get Paul George. So the true value for Paul George, though, lies somewhere in between, right? What is that? And the answer is only what someone else is willing to pay. But I don't know. The competition for Paul George right now would be the Cavs, I guess.
Well, yes. It's not a sort of. It's an absolute.
Here's the problem with the Cavs. I still have problem with the Cavs from the Pacers scenario as well. I know you're big on Kevin Love, but I don't understand.
Well, I just think he's almost become disrespected in this process.
And it's not about Kevin Love in this respect.
Right.
Why trade 1 year of Paul George for 2 years of Kevin Love? You're not rebuilding around Kevin Love. So you're taking away your superstar to add what? A player who's a slight drop down and an extra year of him. You're not rebuilding. What are you doing there? Treading water? Why does that help the Pacers to do that deal?
That's why that deal's more likely a third team guy. But I would rather have Kevin Love for 2 years and then figure out, like, I would rather, if I were offered these two things, let me do it this way. Yeah. Kevin Love at like north of $20 million a year for the next 2 years, but the money part of it isn't really that significant because you're going to have to pay anybody, and the rebuild is not going to be solved in this first year. Would you rather have 27 and 28 and a younger player like a Clarkson or a Randle? And I just think everybody's kind of off all these guys now. Maybe Randle finds a way. Clarkson's probably a little underrated. But they're nothing you're going to get really excited about. Would you rather have 27, 28 in one of those dudes or have a Kevin Love under contract for the next 2 years where you know what? What about the trade deadline next February? Don't you think there'd be more of a market for Kevin Love to flip him into something else if you were the Pacers?
Do you know what I do in that scenario, Ryan? I really do. I just hold Paul George. The market has to get better than one of those two options.
That's what I mean with the Pritchard thing. I'd be like, I know I'm supposedly no leverage guy, and I can't. The whole you can't go into the season with Paul George in these circumstances. The locker room's going to be a mess. I would make shirts that say "We're a mess, Pacers basketball," because I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't do that deal, and I would go. I'm just going to wait until the trade deadline. I'm not going to let the Magic get a better offer of pick and player for Serge Ibaka than I'm getting in the offseason for Paul George. I'm not going to do it.
Right. And this leads us to what you want to talk about, which is the NBA offseason. And it is awesome. But everyone is saying that. Everyone is. Well, you know why? Because it's so clearly awesome. What's unique about it? Here's what's unique about the NBA offseason. It's all packed into a 2 or 3 week period where it's also including the NBA draft and, we just crowned a champion. All within about 2 or 3 weeks, we get all of that. That's the only thing that makes it possible of competing with the NFL, which I told you at the top of the show, the NFL draft is the best sporting event of the year. And I wasn't being hyperbolic with that. I do think it is. For the same reason, every sports fan in America is in. We all have hope. We all have action. We all have something on the line here. We're all going to get something out of this. It's incredibly exciting for every single fan of every single team.
With Will Cain, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot, even if you have insurance with another company, see how much you can save before you switch. But it does feel like it's more. And I don't want to say the phrase with social media now, but it's true. Last night, I get home from work, it is nonstop. Dwight Howard's traded. Here's what they want with Paul George. Jimmy Butler wants to stay with Chicago. Here's the new Lakers rumor with the Sacramento thing. Like, these are real. And the best part for the NBA, none of this is really negative. It's actually all fun. When you think about the daily consciousness of what we've talked about with NFL's topics, concussions, how can the NFL prevent societal issues within their own league? I made the joke the other day. Baseball's like, can you guys talk about our steroid issue again? Because you guys never talk about us anymore. You never talk about it anymore with me. That's baseball. Basketball. I'm glad you got that. Basketball. This is actually all fun, and it doesn't even have to be real, and people can't get enough of it. What this thing has become in these 3 to 4 weeks, and I really think it started in 2010 with the LeBron stuff and the decision, which everyone hated, but what you didn't realize is that you were getting in early on this obsession. It used to be hot stove with us as kids in baseball, and you're like, what's going on at the Winter Park? Oh my gosh, who's there? Is that Dan Duquette outside the Marriott? And you would get really excited. This is happening in real time, and we're all caught up with it. And there's almost nothing negative other than things being wrong.
And Twitter's the lobby of the Marriott.
Absolutely.
It's the lobby of the Marriott. By the way, it's not better this year. Let's not forget last year, right? Where Kevin
Durant.
I'm talking about Jordan. DeAndre Jordan is locked in a house.
Michael, did he get traded?
No, DeAndre Jordan's locked in a house in Houston.
Just don't ever say Jordan when you say DeAndre Jordan again. Is that a rule? Is that okay?
Yeah. You got me there. No. You know what? No, I'm doing this for DeAndre.
By the way, there's a rumor with him that they're exploring trades. That just happened today.
That's right.
And no one does Twitter better than NBA Twitter.
Within a year, DeAndre Jordan.
Maybe
AKA,
Get Out got canceled Twitter.
AKA Jordan.
AKA also known.
Has been locked in a house and had the entire Clippers organization fly to Houston to show him how much they love him. A year later, he's on the block.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
I would just walk in and go, what's the plan, bro?
Why are you sleeping until 1?
We need to start stripping it back down to the base.
It's your life and our advice.
Let me fix your life, not just your back porch. Okay, let's do this. Are you excited?
I'm excited.
You've done this once before, right?
This is life advice?
Yes.
Oh, now I can hear. We had technical difficulties. It was going to be hard for me to give life advice when I couldn't hear a single question firing my way.
Now you're locked in. Let's start in your home state. Dylan in Texas.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up, Dylan?
Big fans of the show. Long story short, this girl I've had previous relations with, she told me she's divorcing her husband soon. She's in town. She's visiting for an undetermined amount of time. We've had 2 meetups since she's been here in town. First night was good. Second night, not so good.
Scandalous.
How do I play this? Do I play it cool guy, just listening as a friend, or go full force like, hey, let's do this. What's up?
Sounds like you needed advice a few months prior to all
You're
this.
so far beyond the advice, Dennis.
Yes,
you're so far beyond it, man. Like, I want to back you up 5 steps and then give you advice.
10 steps.
What does meetup mean?
It sounds like you don't care at all, right? So,
I mean,
in a way, why are you even asking?
Right. You're right, Ryan.
Whatever we're going to say isn't going to matter.
How about this? What do you want to hear, Dennis?
No, actually, it does matter. I love this segment. I value y'all's opinions. I really do.
But what do you want to? I'm serious. What do you want to hear? What would make you feel good?
Well, I can't say that on air. What would make me feel good?
All right. I think we all know what you're going to do. I love that you love the show. I love that you asked us, but you've already made up your mind. You just called in. You know?
No, actually, no. I'm really lost. Like, I don't know to play.
Do you feel guilty?
Like,
do you feel guilty hanging out with her?
No, not at all. And I don't think she feels guilty hanging out with me.
What is what does hanging out mean? What are y'all
I think
doing?
we're good. I think we understand.
No,
that. 2017. What are you, 100?
I don't think you're on the same page. I don't think he's saying what you're saying.
Oh, I think he is.
The first night was just a one-on-one, have a few drinks at the bar. That's it. We both went to separate homes after.
See?
The second night was a bigger group outing. Still nothing happened. But that night was more distant. It was a little more distant. But I think it's because the numbers game was
That's not
a
your
huge
scene.
group.
Yeah.
See, he wasn't saying the
Not
same
in the
thing as
group
you,
thing.
Ryan. It's 2014 here when he
You're
did
right.
advice in
You're
the first
right.
place.
I jumped to conclusions. I totally jumped to conclusions.
Here's the serious
We gotta
advice,
get
really
this
quick.
moving.
I know.
Right.
Here's the advice. Don't do anything until she's divorced. Easy advice.
Yeah. Don't be the reason. Let them be the reason. They're not in love anymore. Brandon in Connecticut.
Hey guys, how are you? Big fan of the show.
Great. Thanks, man.
My question is, I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years. She put on a little bit of weight, which I don't care about because I'm a big dude myself.
Sound big.
6'8", 300. Yeah, just throw it out there.
Stats.
But what do? I'm not leaving. I don't plan on going. I'm not straying. I'm faithful to her, but she just, I know it's about, I can tell her I love her. She's beautiful. It doesn't matter what I tell her as long as she feels it. I need your help, guys.
But you want her to lose the pounds? Is that what you're saying? So you're trying to.
If she does it, it doesn't matter because it's not going to change how I feel about her.
Oh, so you're just trying.
I'm not going anywhere, but I know she wants to for herself.
Oh, well, then just clip this segment and play her it. I mean,
seriously, yeah. Download the podcast, play that.
There you go.
Subscribe.
Okay.
Let her know you're willing to tell the world. You're willing to proclaim your love from the mountaintops, no matter how big she gets.
Okay, next one. Let's go to Sean in Maine. Sean, you're on with Will Cain, Life Advice.
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
All right. Fiance broke up with me a few months back.
Fiance, you said?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Still in love with her. Hey, it is life. Not sure if I should stick around and see if something might come out of it or head out of town and move to a different state. I got family down in a different state, so.
So, fiance dumps him. He's still in love with her. Sounds like he's about to lose it on this phone call. Wants to see if he should stick around in the same town, see if they can work this thing out, or leave the state, move somewhere else.
Hey, man, I don't know you. We're not buddies, but I'm going to do the thing that everybody should do for you. Every guy should have this buddy to tell him the thing he doesn't want to hear. You got to go, man. You got to shut it down and get out of town. That's what's best for you, man. You agree, Ryan?
I
Are
don't
you
know.
hesitating?
There's different dynamics at work here. Like some people are people that always get back together, and then it's like, okay, maybe you can make it work. But if you do the get back together after they've been with somebody else, it just doesn't ever work. Like, oh, hey, there's Doug that you dated for a year in between us being engaged and then getting married and having kids. I saw him at the hardware store. I like his new truck.
I feel for that dude. It's time to move on. Got to pull that Band-Aid off and get out of here.
Yeah, because you know what? If you sit around like a lost puppy dog, there's no chance you're getting her back. If you move and you're killing it, you're South Beach guy now, just Instagram left and right, she'll probably get back together with you. Get
and
some
then
abs.
you won't want her.
Right, yeah. Then you're like, are you serious? I didn't even like you. It took warm weather and science for me to understand that. Patrick in Texas, one more.
Gentlemen, how are you doing? Love the show.
Thank you.
So I'm a physician, and there's a physician's dining room right across from the operating room. What happens on many occasions is I'll finish a case going to the doctor's dining room starving, and the place has been wiped out. There's about 7 or 8 physicians that go in there, fill up to-go boxes, fill up to-go bags, and just run out of there. Should I say anything?
Absolutely.
Yes, today.
Absolutely.
You're
I've
saving
never
lives.
understood. I don't. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Well,
What kind of doctors are they?
So it can be anybody from a pediatrician to,
You got status on him. Keep going.
Yeah, so all types of doctors, but I just don't understand the need to take extra food and, take it home with you. You're a physician. You can probably afford a water bottle. You don't need 7.
Isn't that something? People.
That's beat. I would
take and take and take.
You got to figure out a way to go over and just get 5 minutes in and tell them. Are you a big guy, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm pretty about 6'2", 200.
Yeah,
And you're in the operating room. So
yeah, this is
I want to rank these doctors for real. You got dermatologists in there taking food?
Hey, that was a Seinfeld episode. Definitely don't go down that road.
I got more.
Yeah.
I already said a pediatrician was trying to outrank him.
Yeah, you got to let him know, man, because it's obviously you're frustrated, and it sounds like without knowing all of the, who's taking the other side of this? You get a starving doctor on the phone right now.
I know what Patrick's problem is. You don't want to be the narc, right? You don't want to be that guy around the hospital.
I don't want to be that guy, exactly. It's like, well, they're like, well, how's it affecting you? And I'm like, well, you've cleaned it out. I've got nothing. I've got to run up to the store.
Right. That's a real thing that's happening.
Let me tell you something, Patrick. As somebody who's been that guy, who's been accused of being that guy, you just do what's right, okay? You let the chips fall where they may. You do what's right.
Yeah. Trying to run a society here. All right, thank you, Patrick.
The Ryen Russillo Show.
We were just talking about owners, and you're right to suggest. All 30 NBA owners aren't morons. All 32 NFL owners aren't morons. We can play that game over and over again. We can disagree. I do think there's some guys that don't get it at all, don't get it how it's done, but they just happen to make a ton of cash, and they love the NBA or they love the NFL, and then next thing you know, I own a team. And sometimes you get close to it, you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe how this guy sees basketball or something. And then there's other times where we're out of our minds for assuming we know more than they do. So that's kind of the premise of what we're saying. Mm-hmm. But the Phil Jackson one, you are not going to find many people that even want to agree with your open-mindedness about what Phil is now running the Knicks.
I'm just, honestly, it's like that scene in The Big Lebowski where the dude's drinking White Russians.
Ask Phil.
And adhering to a very strict drug regimen to keep his mind limber. I'm trying to keep my mind limber by not just accepting the echo chamber of Phil's either A, just all of a sudden a complete and utter moron, or B, sabotaging the New York Knicks in an attempt to get fired. I understand those are the two options most people have subscribed to at this point. The third is, hey, maybe Phil has a plan here. Maybe he's got some reason for the things he's doing. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just trying to be flexible. And in this, let me offer you what I could come up with, Ryan, when I try to say, could Phil have a plan here? And the two are, number one, if Porzingis truly was on the block, and I have to accept that premise for this discussion, it's not insane to just say, what can I get? I mean, what if I just got whipped? What if somebody just threw pick after pick and player after player? I mean, everybody's got a value. Everybody's movable at some price. Maybe it feels like everybody seems pretty big on this Kristaps guy. What if Boston threw 2 1s, a player, and I don't know, make it 3 1s? What if Boston did that? I think that can explain some Phil behavior.
It also seems like there's a chance that they could have just been leaked by people that were trying to...
Don't mess up my game, man.
Oh, all right. So we're still going with the idea that Phil would actively look to move Porzingis?
Yeah. Or that Phil would put this out. If you accept the premise that Phil put this out, and that's a huge premise to accept, because Stephen A. Smith today on First Take said that this is actually coming from Porzingis' camp, that this is a boss move by Porzingis to actually try to get Phil out. If I can make Phil look like a fool who would trade me, maybe Dolan will finally get rid of him.
Ask Phil.
So, if you accept that it came from Phil's camp, one, let's just explore market value as one reason. The other is, two, send a message to Porzingis. Hey, you're not above us, man. You're skipping exit meetings. You're playing big time with me. Everybody can be moved. Send a message.
I think this one just got out, and there's no way Porzingis is traded. That's not a inside info thing. I think it just got out. Whether it was Porzingis and his side messing with Phil, if they were doing it to make Phil look bad, if all of us were supposed to sit here and go, wow, Phil Jackson's an idiot, then it worked. But it didn't really change the bigger picture thing with Phil, and that is that Dolan is going to keep him there. Dolan's going to keep paying him. And, some people were joking about it yesterday, and I kind of passingly said this thing where it's like if the goal was to get fired, then he's actually good job, because this is going to get you. This is the kind of thing that would get you fired. You can't be trading somebody like Porzingis because you at least know exactly what you have here, and you have him so young, and you have so much control, 7 years financially to control this guy. Just because it's bad now doesn't mean it's always going to be bad. But there's a lot of other stuff with Phil. I tried in the beginning. The Porzingis pick, no one around the league thought he would take Porzingis. Nobody. They're
and
Phil won't do that.
Everyone mocked him when he did.
I didn't.
Well, everyone but Ryen Russillo mocked him when he did.
No. Okay, so then he also said some stuff about Melo. And the Melo thing, he's taking the L's now on all the Melo stuff, okay, which I understand. But he also said some stuff about Melo everybody else had said. There was a lot of people that would complain about Melo's style of play and what he meant to a team and what he couldn't bring. Then as soon as Phil said it, it wasn't Melo's fault anymore. It was how dare Phil. And it was kind of like an employee management thing. And no one, just like you said, no one likes to side with the owners. No one likes to defend the owners.
Management.
Well, nobody likes to decide, go like, hey, you know what I really like is the way management's running things. Okay? So the Melo detractors could then direct their angst towards the other guy who's kind of saying the same stuff about them. People love the Shumpert and J.R. Smith deal, but you know what? The bigger day-to-day, if you ask anybody that covers that team, if you ask people that really understand what's going on with the Knicks franchise, the day-to-day is a continuation of the mess that it's always been, and Phil has done nothing to change that. And that's a problem. And there's certain people that just around the league go, he's not into this job. He doesn't want to do that. And that's the information that I have, that no matter what you say about trying to have an open mind with Phil, I just don't know that I can ever accept it. I tried in the beginning, and I used some of the examples. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
and it's not the Porzingis rumor.
I think you're probably right, by the way. And if he can't change a culture, that's really not on Phil. He may not be into the job. His motivation may not be there. But if your problems predate somebody and postdate somebody, and the one constant that remains is your owner.
Ask Phil.
That's your problem, right? All I'm saying with Phil is, maybe all I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
Maybe I'm just being a devil's advocate. Everybody decided this one thing. And maybe everybody's right. But my God, my radars go off when that happens.
I like that you're doing this.
Everybody says, am I trying to be contrarian for contrarian's sake?
No, I don't think you are.
Hot take. It's like, if you were to walk into a room of 50 people and everybody in that room has decided one thing is true, I'm going to tell you something. Decent shot, they're wrong. Don't fall them over the cliff.
I had experience with that, earlier this week when we were doing the Paul George thing. Every single person goes, you can't give up the number 2 pick for Paul George. And I said, I'm not saying you have to, but if you were an NBA team, and I said to you at some point, you can have Paul George, and you don't have to worry about his contract because he's going to re-sign with you, so you're going to get 6 years of Paul George. All we need is your number 2 pick. You would say yes to that trade. You would say yes to that trade. And now, with the draft tomorrow, with all these different things, and that was one of those moments where it was 50 people telling me I was wrong. I go, and then you always have the fallback when you do what we do. Be like, hey, man, I'm just trying to put a segment together.
I'm just being flexible.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be open-minded here, man.
Trying to give you 8 different minutes on Phil. You know?
Because Teddy Bruschi didn't show up.
Phil.
He did call up. He actually walked into the studio, and that segment was so good that Teddy said, I don't want to interrupt this.
Where'd he go?
This is great. He bounced. He's out of here. Back to 617.
Thank you for listening to the Ryen Russillo Show podcast. You can check out the show live weekdays at 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and on ESPN News. The Ryen Russillo Show podcast.